Tanika, how you doing? All right, I've got your workup right here. Really, it's a great start. Really a great start. Boy, I mean, I've been looking at this for a minute, thinking about I've been thinking to myself, how the heck did you come up with the idea of a cat nap? It's just to me, it's really fascinating. But I think that about every time I open up a student project, I'm like, wow, that's a cool choice. And this is no exception. I think this is a really neat choice. It's a really interesting um, poster. It is. I mean, I think it's gorgeous. I really do. I think the color palette is really remarkable. I think that right now the color palette is it's doing something a little bit unusual in that this. I mean, it almost the color palette almost adds a little bit of an imbalance to the page. And let me describe what I mean. So right over here, you've kind of muted over here, right? Especially that color right there, back there. And then over here, you really got some interesting colors going here. So the fact that the interesting color side has more visual weight than the other side of the poster. Let's see that right there. I just think that it loans itself a little bit to an imbalance in the composition. I think that in conjunction with the fact that that there's some areas of the composition, basically the composition as a whole is really lacking in contrast. And the reason I say that, I mean, there's some really interesting things going on here, just starting to add contrast. You've got that dark little vein through the flower. You got these darker veins through the leaves, the green leaves. But that's kind of it for contrast. There's no comparative contrast at all over through here. So I think that we need to increase the contrast. I don't know if you want to do that. I'm going to leave that up to you, but we definitely need to increase the contrast associated with the composition itself. And also add a little bit more. I think that we add a little more visual elements over on this side here. So maybe in a couple of other leaves over here, maybe just kind of on the border, bleeding through the border, off the border of the composition. But yeah, we want to distribute that color a little bit more evenly through the composition itself. In terms of contrast, I mean, you could possibly, you've got this catnap here, which I think the type here is a little underdeveloped. It's really super casual, and that's great. But I think it's just a little underdeveloped. I'd work on that type a little bit. You've got your type stroked, which I'm not a big fan of stroke type, but the way that this type is set, it's so casual and so organic that I think stroking it is not going to harm anything. So to increase contrast in this area, you might consider a black stroke. A very, very, very dark stroke, possibly darken up the veins of the leaves and use the same color for the stroke. But that's what I would like to see. I think everything looks fantastic right now. It's just my only problem is balance based on color distribution, visual weight, distribution of visual weight, and that contrast thing I was talking about. So other than that, I mean, it's a fantastic piece so far. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know. But I'd like to see you address those changes for your final submission this Sunday. All right, good job. Thank you very much.